Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDoWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, Inmate Thinks I'm a New CO and That He Can Run All Over Me. I'm a corrections officer in a local jail and have worked there for 14 years. We're pretty laid back for a jail, but it's still a jail. When an inmate asks for something and gets told no, the answer is no. Having spent the previous 10 years in retail, this is the dream. Also, when an inmate is told to do something, they're expected to do it. I should also mention here that my shift sergeant and I have been working together for about 8 years, and I've been there 2 years longer than he has. I should also mention that my sergeant is very protective of his staff. The cast, me equals me, Sarge equals my shift sergeant, inmate equals some 20-ish-year-old kid who thinks he can run over that new guy. Back in 2014 I had a bunch of vacation time built up, so my wife and I took a 2-week vacation to go to Cooperstown to see the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and watch the induction ceremony. Being huge Atlanta Braves fans, we had a lot of fun watching Bobby Cox, Greg Maddux, and Tom Glavine get inducted. When I got back to work, I'm doing my rounds and an inmate approaches me. Now I don't recognize this guy, so he must be someone who was arrested while I was on vacation. He immediately starts in on me like he owns the jail. Inmate: hey, I missed yard call because I was asleep. I need to go out to the yard now. Me: too bad, you should have woken up when we did yard call for your dorm, you'll just have to wait for the next one tomorrow. Inmate: what do you know, you're just the new guy. Get me your sergeant. Me, trying not to laugh and knowing Sarge will get a kick out of this, okay. Wait right here. I point to the spot he's standing in, expecting him to be there, or at least close by, when I get back. I finish my rounds and call Sarge on the radio. Me: hey, Sarge. I got an inmate down here that says he needs to talk to you. Sarge: well, what does he want? Me, trying to keep from laughing, he thinks I'm the new guy and can run over me because of it. Sarge: I'll be right there. When Sarge arrives, we both go back into the dorm and lo and behold, inmate isn't waiting where I told him to. Sarge: well, where is he? Me: I don't know. Me yelling: hey inmate. Sarge is here to talk to you. Inmate, still acting like he owns the jail, walks out of his cell and approaches Sarge. Hey Sarge, I missed yard call and the new guy here won't let me go out. Sarge: so? If you miss yard call, that's your problem, not mine or his. Next time we call yard call, get your lazy butt out of bed. Inmate, interrupting Sarge: but you don't understand. Sarge, interrupting inmate, and getting louder: no, you don't understand. When a member of staff gives you an answer, that is the answer. Furthermore, when an officer tells you to wait somewhere, you do it. You don't walk away. Inmate, trying to make excuses, but Sarge, this new guy. Sarge, interrupting inmate again, still pretty loud: this is officer, me. You will refer to him as officer, me, not the new guy. Furthermore, officer, me, here has been working in this jail since before they put the paint on the walls, so if he gives you an answer, that is definitely the answer. Now, go lock down. Inmate, looking like he feels a foot tall, but. Sarge, go. Lock. Down. Inmate goes and locks down, and Sarge and I go to his office. We have a good laugh and Sarge wants inmate locked down for 3 days for disrespecting staff. But since we got a good laugh and a good story, I convince him to just make it the rest of the day. I later go back and talk to inmate to give him his lockdown paperwork. Turns out he's not really a bad guy, just pretty dumb, and he apologized. Since he's become a regular, we still get a good laugh about that whenever he comes back to jail. The next story is titled, I'm more qualified for tour job than you are. I'm a head of sales and marketing for a major property developer with 10 years of experience in the industry, several of those spent at a large competitor's company, let's call them Money Homes. They are considered the epitome of luxury due to the huge price tag. This will be important later on. My team covers all of the capital and a very large portion of the country. Roll on today, since we have only recently opened up and are launching new developments for which we don't yet have the staff, today was the interview day. Normally for those kinds of positions, the person would be interviewed by the sales manager for that particular development, sales coordinator, and sometimes one of the sales directors. Since it's a bit of a track for the sales director to come in for the interview, 5-hour train journey when we're supposed to limit non-essential travel, HR asked me to step in as new employees will be reporting to me anyway. Q8 applicants we have waiting. First few interviews go pleasantly well but nothing special, until we meet interviewee No. 4. Meet Annabelle. Before she comes into the room she's sitting in the waiting area with other applicants, and not only I can hear her go on about how she pretty much has the job in the bag as she's overly qualified and the other guys are wasting their time, first mistake, then I can see her shuffling through papers at the admin desk which was left unattended, second mistake. She still doesn't realize that our office is behind a Venetian mirror. I can see her, she cannot see me. She hears the admin come back in and scurries away back to the seat. It's now her turn for the interview. She comes in, hands me a copy of her CV and sits down opposite myself and the other 2 members of my team. I look at her CV with a slight half smile, which I think she took as a good sign, so she goes off talking about her major accomplishments at different employers. She tells us that she's actually more interested in being hired for another position at our company, which she can assure me she's more qualified for than our current employee. She then starts spewing out figures of our marketing campaigns, which have not yet been published, and advises me on the results we should expect and what our next move in terms of marketing should be. I advise her that the only positions currently open are for sales staff, but asked her which one she's specifically interested in. She mentions, wait for it, sales and marketing director. My job. My co-workers both look at me in waiting, so I decide to play along. I've asked her what makes her more qualified than our current director. She comes back to the marketing figures point and asks me outright how many applicants are able to predict to a certainty what results you'll achieve, and then leads into a major point on her CV, money homes. So, I started asking a little more about her position there, what was her area of responsibility, how long she has worked there, etc. She starts off telling this long, rehearsed story of how she started there as a negotiator a few years back and worked her way up to associate director, fancy name for managers responsible for more than one project, and how she eventually became sales and marketing director but is looking to leave, so discretion is of utmost importance. At that point I couldn't hold it in anymore. I really wanted to let her carry on, but I just burst out laughing and asked her to leave. She just gets very confused and starts asking what she said that has offended me. With the biggest grin on my face I then said, it's one thing hearing you talk down to other applicants when you're supposedly looking for upper management position, watch you steal confidential information from my admin's desk while pulling the 2 pages out of her hand, our marketing reports, and telling me and my colleagues that you can do my job better than me by lying to me about your experience. She gets offended and starts going off at me that I know nothing about her and she did not lie about her experience, and how would I have known that anyway? Annabelle, the reason I know you're lying is because I was the sales and marketing director at Money Homes during the years you have described, and not only do I know you were not in managerial position, I know that you were not even part of the department, even if you did work there, as the department was made of 42 employees, all of which I knew by name. I recommend that if you do indeed work there, you contact your director, as I will be filing a grievance against you for stealing confidential documents from their main competitor. Her face went pale as a sheet of cheap toilet paper. She turns on her heel, rips her CV out of my colleague's hands and runs out the door. Like, does she really think we did not keep her details on email when she sent the doc through? Can't wait to see if I'll be hearing from her or Money Homes anytime soon. The next story is titled, No Ma'am You Cannot Return That Meat. A bit of background. I used to work for a large grocery store chain in California. Ended up with surgery and now frozen shoulder. So during the time between PT and surgery I was able to work at self-checkout. No one likes self-checkout. Anyways, back to the story. Me, old foreign customer, OFC. Me, watching people check out items, looking at the screen and fixing any issues, i.e. coupons, weight on the scale, veggies with no number. OFC is from another country. She hands me a bag and says, I want to return this meat. Me, okay, do you have a receipt? OFC, no. Me, okay, no problem, do you have any issue with store credit? OFC, no problem. I get other meat. I start looking at the information on the package. The meat is frozen to the touch and brown. It's a pork roast that has seen better days. I try to scan it but it won't scan. Me, just give me a moment, sometimes it doesn't always scan. OFC, okay. I keep trying to scan but it's degraded. I look at the date and wouldn't you believe it? The meat was almost a year old. The OC tried to return a year-old meat to purchase new meat. Our store doesn't take meat that old and she didn't want to use it. Me, I'm sorry OFC, I can't take this because it's too old. OFC, why not? It's sit in freezer. I no use. Me, it's almost a year old. We cannot take meat that old. I gave back the meat and told my front-end manager. We had a good chuckle. The next story is titled, No I Don't Need to Leave. Background, I'm a teacher in a college. This is a further education college mostly for 16 to 19-year-olds and a few adults studying vocational subjects like electricians, hairdressers etc. Not a university. However, I teach one of only 2 academic subjects in the entire college that many of the students have to take by law as remedial classes. My subject is pretty hated there in my class because they failed an exam, and most of them have had really bad experiences in high school, so we tend to be pretty relaxed and use first names. My name is quite long and students never use it, so I just tell them to use a nickname that's a shorter version and easier for them to remember. The kids and all of the staff know me by this name, even the cashier at the coffee shop. The dress code outside of workshops and PPE isn't strict. We have tutors with multicolored hair, short leather mini skirts, joke t-shirts etc. We can't wear shorts or see-through tops are literally the only rules I've come across about clothes, but they're really strict about ID. Everyone has photo ID with either staff or student in big letters and color-coded lanyards that are checked by security when you enter, so only staff could possibly have a staff photo ID. This is relevant later, and lanyard. Note about me, apparently I don't look like a typical teacher. I have 14 tattoos, mostly visible, bright blue and silver nail polish that day, a funky pattern dress, bright blue butterflies that day, leggings and bright blue slip-on shoes with butterflies on them. I like butterflies there in 4 of my tattoos as well. My nickname could technically be used for a guy, but it would be unusual where I'm from. I'm also used to people new to the college thinking I'm not a teacher. It happens all of the time at the start of the year when we're setting students up with classes. I occasionally get arguments with my decisions on which class the students will take because parents don't believe I'm a teacher, but I can usually show the policy to stop it. But this was far and away the worst time it has happened so far. So on to the story. This happened on the second parent-teacher evening of the year around February. So for these events each department is given a specific location. As my department is so big we can't have a room, so we get set up in the open space next to the cafeteria, as it's the only place where we can all fit and still have private conversations with parents or students. So there I was, bored, tired. I'd been there 11 hours at that point, doing my marking, waiting to see if anyone would show up. For the record, I've had 14 parents show in the 6 years I've been teaching there. Way bigger issue of working in a deprived area doing a remedial course. Sadly this guy was one. So I'm sat there marking assessments surrounded by the other 23 tutors in my department and my manager, as she also has students, when one of my students appears. Shock. He says his dad is coming in from the car. Am I free? I say yes, sure, bring him over when he gets here, I'm just doing my marking. A few minutes later I glanced up and saw my student pointing me out to an older guy who was clearly a relative. The guy walks over and the following conversation happens. Cast. Me. P. Rude parent. CS. Confused student. M. My manager. OT. Other teacher sitting next to me also doing her marking, not speaking but confused. Me. Hi, can I help you? Are you student's father? P. Yes, I need to speak to my nickname, his teacher. Where is he? Me. Oh, I'm sorry for the confusion. My nickname, my full name is ____. Show my photo ID. I teach student my subject. How can I help? P. No, I mean his real teacher. Me, getting confused. I am his real teacher, again pointing to staff ID. P. No, I mean the one who teaches his lessons and marks his work, not his helper. The student gets additional support in class. Me. Yes, that's me. P. What are you talking about? You're not a teacher. Just tell me where to find my nickname. Go away and stop being stupid. Me, suddenly understanding students' self-esteem issues. Sir, I assure you I am both a qualified teacher and your child's teacher, but I do not appreciate being insulted. M, coming up behind, hearing him getting loud. Is there a problem? P, yes, I am student's father. I'm looking for his teachers, my nickname and OT. He said they were over here. M. Oh well yes, my nickname is here, pointing at me, and OT is here, pointing at her sitting on the table next to me. P. Don't lie to me. Look at them, they can't possibly know enough to teach my child. I want to see my nickname right now. Where is he? M. He. I'm afraid I don't have any male teachers by the name of my nickname, and neither of your child's teachers in my department are men. CS. Walking over looking worried at the arguing. Dad, what's going on? Did they say something bad about my work? Valid worry for this student. P. Why did you lie to me? Where are your teachers? CS. Looking so confused. This is my nickname, pointing at me, and this is OT, pointing at her. P. Don't lie to me. This stupid girl, I'm one of the highest qualified teachers in the building, can't be your teacher, you need a man to teach you properly. Me, OT and my manager standing there in shock. CS looking really embarrassed, the student had asked to move to my class. Me, I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? What exactly do you think we're trying to teach that requires only male input? CS, Dad, they're really my teachers. P. No teachers have to look smart, and everyone knows that the best teachers are men, why don't you have the best teachers? At this point my manager's manager intervened and took him away. My student apologized and disappeared to hide behind the coffee counter until they could leave. When my manager returned we got the rest of the story. It turns out the guy initially thought I needed to leave or help him because he thought his child was trying to pass another student off as a teacher to get out of trouble, because apparently teachers can't be young, female, have tattoos and wear casual clothes. What his excuse for not believing OT was, I'm not sure, she is 15 years older than me, wears a suit and looks like she just walked out of a corporate office. Next to her I do look like a hippie student. It seems he thought that I had somehow stolen my ID badge, with my picture on it, a stack of marking, and sat down in the middle of 24 other tutors and started marking without any of the other 24 tutors, catering staff, admin, students or security noticing. Once he realized we really were his child's teachers, he then went into a rant at my line manager and department head, both female teachers in my subject area, about how women were all terrible teachers, they weren't as clever as men and should be at home looking after their own children, not here corrupting his. It seems telling kids that the Titanic was a real ship, not just a movie, and that 9/11 really happened, it wasn't just made up for a movie about firemen, counts as corruption, though he could have been more pissed about the follow-up conversations about early 20th century poverty and class distinctions, the importance of health and safety, religious expression, freedom of expression vs hate speech and extremism. I like to have a chat and teenagers are usually funny. Then he went into a complaint about his child being discriminated against because he was put in my class, not the male teachers the student had asked to move. Needless to say, my managers were not impressed and asked him to leave in front of security. This guy then spent the rest of the year trying to make his child do work the wrong way because he didn't believe that his female teachers could possibly be right. Luckily the student ignored his father, came to extra sessions and managed to pass my subject. Sadly the other teacher still had him the next year. The student was already further behind in that subject when he started. Nothing about the quality of teaching or effort, but he was asked to bring a different family member to parent-teacher meetings in future, as we couldn't allow parents to abuse the staff. Since then I've been kind of glad no parents show up for my parent-teacher meetings. The next story is titled, Kid. Ma'am, I'm 25 and the only guy who can help you now. Cast, Op, me, K, Karen, obviously, Cop, Chief of Police, P, poor partner. A little backstory, I had been a cop for 3 years at this point and was on plainclothes shift, as in a standard officer in plainclothes instead of my uniform. We get 3 of these shifts per month. When this happened, now I am in plainclothes, but bear in mind guns are close to being completely illegal here, so anyone ballsy enough to carry a gun in open without a uniform is completely unheard of unless they are officers, i.e., me at the time. So guess how the conversation engaged? Walking into the reception to hand in my assignment report and waiting on another receptionist to take my report in when Karen walks in wanting to make a report. This is where we begin. K, is anyone working today? YTF, is a police station empty in daytime? Not empty, all 3 receptionists are busy, and all are in the back. Op, chill out, people have things to do and can't be in 2 places at once. K, stay out of this, kid. Op, why are you here? K, I'm here to make a report, but that's none of your business, is it? She said this very condescendingly. Bear in mind I'm in plain clothes, but I have a holstered gun on my right hip with my badge on said holster along with spare mag pouches on my left hip. Anyone who pays any attention to what I wear would immediately realize I'm not an average Joe. Op, okay. Just my luck, cop walked in and sees she is fuming and asked me what's going on. I try to tell him she's freaking out, but before I could she called out first. K, finally, someone who works here. This kid shouldn't even be in here if he has nothing better to do than to admire cops when they're busy. Cop, ma'am, first of all he's 25. Second, he's a cop himself. Third, everyone is busy, so can you be a bit more patient? K, bullcrap, he's too young to be a cop. Op, how old do you think I am? K, not old enough. Op, as in you don't respect anyone if they're younger than you, is that it? K, why should I? Op, sir, permission to just leave my report with you and get back to my day? Cop, sure, get your partner and go on your patrol. Op, aye sir. Then I leave on my patrol just to get a call to the rich part of the city, so we went. Guess who called? Yup, Karen. SMH. I let my partner handle her while I make the report in the car. He later told me that she asked if I'm shadowing him today, which he promptly replied with, "Ma'am, he's my superior and I'm supposed to shadow him." Not really, but he just wanted to mess up her perspective. Then she decides to go ballistic on my partner, which ended up with him calling me in to help. I wonder why that didn't work out as well as she planned, as she wanted a supervisor. K, no, I want your supervisor. P, ma'am, like I told you, he is my supervisor. K, he's too young to be your supervisor. Technically this is true. My partner joins the force in his later 20s, but I was in the force longer than him and outrank him, so I was still his superior even though he was older. P, ma'am, if you want someone else, I'll go make the call. Op, don't need to, I already called someone else to take over. We're needed elsewhere, so let's move. K, you can't just leave me. Op, you don't want our help, so we won't help, we'll get someone else to help. Just like that, we left her and got to an actual emergency call. Toddler stuck in a car with the keys inside and parents unable to get to him. She complained to my superiors, but no one gave a crap as she had a record. The next story is titled, Nearly Arrested for Cleaning Up. So background. I work in a high school but have been out and not allowed to return to my room since mid-March. Also I look young with my mask on. Without it, you can easily tell I'm in my 30s. So we finally received our designated times to empty out our classrooms for the summer. Unfortunately, I am just a paraprofessional, not a full teacher, so I don't even know if I'll even have a job in the fall with the school. I decide to go and fully empty my desk of all personal belongings and extra snacks that I always keep in there. Nothing that went bad, but stuff I keep on hand in case of low blood sugar. It is important to note we have been authorized for casual wear, so many of us showed up in simple shorts and t-shirts. Most of my co-workers recognized me with the mask. However, the school recently hired a new principal and police officer the week prior to all of this fun. As I finish, I begin to walk out of my room through the halls. I manage to get to a section of hallway near my parked car when the officer comes around the corner and tells me to freeze. Cop, the school is closed. No students allowed. Put the bag on the ground and step back with your hands in the air. If you thought you could sneak in and steal some stuff, you are mistaken. Me, I'm employed with the school. As I offer to show my ID, the new principal comes around the corner and joins into this mess. Principal to officer, I told you I saw a kid stealing. Arrest him now while I notify the other officers. At this point the officer has my ID in hand and looks at me. I go to remove my mask and he drops his hand towards his holster and shouts at me not to move. Rather than risk getting tased, I call down the hall to a group of teachers who know me well enough. The officer tells them to stay back, but one of the teachers happens to be the JROTC teacher who many officers know well, as he regularly helps teach defense classes in the community. Should also mention he retired quite high in the military and everyone respects him even more for it. Lieutenant Cole, calm down officer. He has been here for a year and a half and isn't that damn young. He proceeds to walk over and signal for me to remove my mask. Once the officer sees my beard pop into view and matches it to my ID, he begins to apologize profusely while getting upset at the principal, who has now turned red in embarrassment. I told him it was okay considering the circumstances and that I would not be upset or report him. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.